Hello, this is Alex Calvo Garcia. You're listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Hello, Iron fans. This is another episode of the Iron Hour podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Max Bell. I'm the temporary host of this week's episode, just stepping in for Andy Barraclough. But I'm very, very happy to say that I'm joined by a couple of unusual panelists, including everybody's favourite bald, stellar cap wearing. I'm my only surprise is that he isn't down the streets of Howden painting the Italian flag. Marco, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Hectic week as normal, but no flag painting or waving for me. Not this week anyway. But yeah, no, all good, thank you.
You've not been there with the pizza, sort of like, getting the tomatoes in one pile and then the mozzarella and then the green peppers?
No, although where my parents are from, it's not the most affluent affair, but there's not many foreigners down the street, barring my dad, and there's quite a few England fans, so I don't know if it's aimed at us.
Do you think it's a very overdue hangover to the Euro 2025?
Yeah,
Is that-
I blame Chiellini.
And speaking of Chiellini, very much the Bukayo Saka, the golden boy of the Iron Hour podcast, our very own attacking, flaring, goal-scoring winger, Gareth Holden, Iron Army. How are you doing?
Well, I've been called some things, but that takes a biscuit, I think. I'm doing really well. Just a bit tired from work, but
I've seen you score a goal.
Yeah, just one.
It wasn't at Wembley. It was at West Halton, but I've seen you score a goal.
It was, yeah. I believe we won that game, didn't we? We came back from that goal, got us back into the game.
Both Holdens on the score sheet.
Yeah, Jill scored as well. So yeah, it was a good day.
Happy man. Yes, well, I think we were 3-0 and 4-1 down, but eventually came back to win 5-4.
Yeah,
again, almost like Italy's win against Israel, Marco.
Managerial genius. Call me Gattuso.
Right then, before we get into the main cut and thrust of the podcast, I just want to thank our sponsors for their support. Very, very much appreciated. Helps us put on episodes like this. So a big thanks to Best Blanks Wholesale, to Hole in the Wand, to No Film, and also to AC Photography and Videography. Very, very much appreciated. And as we say, very close friends of the podcast, and their sponsorship is very, very much appreciated. Now, just to cut it up a little bit, Marco, before we get on to what happened at the end and after the Wealdstone game, let's talk about the first half. When we went 1-0 down, and it was a little bit of a counter-attack, a goal against the run of play from Wealdstone. What were you thinking at that moment?
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think it was, like you say, it was just against the run of play. I remember I was stood with Will and I says, "Now's the time you're back Scunthorpe." So I had a nice little flutter on the iron, because I just thought
you were robbed. You were absolute. Look, we'll come on to the league statement later, but just before then, you were robbed.
The money was back in my account, but yeah, no, look, it's you could still see the win was coming, and to me, that's a really good sign this year. Even going behind it, teams obviously at the next level above where we were last year, to think that we can still go on and win the game. And I thought comfortably. I thought if they had have came back out, that it could have been possibly 3 or maybe even 4. I thought they were on the ropes. And yeah, no, look, that first half, the goal was very much against the run of play. I saw a couple of, I'll be nice and say dimwits saying that Rory could have done better. Looking at
it's crackers. I've watched it live and watched it back a couple of times.
That narrative of
I just don't see it. If we stop that goal that's in the build up, they moved it quite nicely down the left hand side. Really good crossing, to be fair to them. There's a lot to be said for a quality delivery from the flank, and it's a good header. Like if we'd scored that, you'd be thrilled.
Yeah, this whole narrative, and it's almost like people waiting for the other team to score so they can blame the goalkeeper. No matter who's in net, we could have Donnarumma in net next week. But still find
but then if you start blaming the goalkeeper, you've got to actually blame him for something he's at fault for.
Exactly. And look, I think one thing with our team right now, the problem is not the goalkeeper. I think Rory's had a good couple of weeks. Before that, Mason had a good couple of weeks. Look, albeit there's been a mistake or two in there, but look, there's not one team in this league that keeper hasn't made a mistake. So, I mean, there was a gentleman on Twitter who pointed out Scales maybe could have done a little bit better positioning wise for their actual cross coming in, which, yeah, that's fine. That is a legit, not a concern, but look, Scales isn't an out and out right back. His positioning may be rusty. It's to be expected. I mean, being nice, he's probably fourth choice right back.
Well, I think, I mean, even if we're not including Ross Barrows, you think he's what, the third different right back. What you're saying, Rose and Bellahune are obviously ahead of him as well.
Starboy.
I mean, sorry,
Starboy.
Starbuck, and then obviously I know Barrows is on the books, but you're probably not counting him. So, I mean, he is the fourth choice right back, I would say, because they played three before him, and they're all either injured or suspended.
Yeah, it's the definition of, with all due respect to Scales, of doing a job. And I think, I mean, we're being very picky with that. I mean, that's something you see.
It was not only that, but it was a quality delivery. You even if you do accept, and maybe you could accept that he's perhaps a couple of yards out of position, I wouldn't expect delivery of that quality that quickly. No. Probably more than 2 times out of 10 at that level.
It was a lovely ball, and barring that, Scales had a really good game. So yeah, for me, that's not an issue. Obviously, we're talking about the first half, but other than that, I know we got the second goal, and then it's sort of, I thought just before the half time, we could have done with another 10 minutes and we'd have maybe got another. Obviously, a standout for me was Denton's 30-40 yard pile driver, which definitely...
He nearly scored.
I think, for me, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what other listeners think. It was up there with James Perch at Glanford Park. It was an absolute stonker.
Well, the difference being Perch scored.
Well, you know, if it had have got, I know I'm going full Gino if my nan had wheels, but
very Italian. I like it.
Just the way it moved, I thought it was lovely, and obviously we were on a high then. We just took the lead, and we were sort of continuing the pressure. So
it was genuine. Seriously though, the only thing that let Denton shot down and was really well struck was that it was a bit central. If it had been a couple of yards closer to the corner, I have to say, I genuinely think it might have gone in.
Yeah, 100%. But no, like you said, I know they took the lead, but like I don't really sound really big-headed. Obviously, we've been promoted, but I just don't think it was in doubt.
So Gareth, obviously, Marco's there touched on, the couple of goals Scunthorpe got in the first half, but Wealdstone had won the toss and they changed ends, which I think Iron fans all collectively hate, and therefore we're sort of confessing that if we were an away side, we might do it ourselves. Were you confident in the second half that even though we were attacking the railway end, we're attacking the away end rather than the Donny Road end? Mm-hmm. Were you confident after the break that we would hold on for them?
Yeah, just so people know, I only saw the second half. The first half, I was travelling back from work. I got delayed, so I only saw the second half. But yeah, I thought when I sat down, like I said to Joe, sat next to me, I said, "Did this swap ends?" And he's like, "Yeah." I thought, all right, fair enough. But no, I think 2-1 up, and hearing about what happened in the first half from people round about me, that I felt confident we'd see it out. I did think we'd score again. I'll be honest with you. I just think at home we're a different animal, as it were. Before the game kicked off, I think I predicted 4-1 to Scunthorpe on the last pod. So I just feel at home, I just think that, we're going to win every game just with what happened last season, the good record we've got at home. And I weren't in any doubt, really. There were a few moments, obviously, that they had and we had as well to score chances that possibly should have been put away, possibly would have been another day. I felt confident that we'd see the game out and get a win.
Now, Marco, just to bring us back to the first half for a second there. Obviously, look, any Scunthorpe fan who hasn't been living in a cave knows that the goals have been scrubbed, and I promise we will come on to that statement in full shortly. But if you're Alfie Beeston, you're particularly gutted, aren't you? Because that was a lovely strike with his left foot.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely a contender for goal of the season. I mean, this morning I saw that Josh King's goal, I think for Bournemouth or Fulham, but King's goal, despite being ruled out for a foul, which obviously it wasn't in the Premier League last week, it's one goal of the month with like an 84% vote on the Fulham page, and I think if we had chance to vote for a goal of the month, I think Beeston would still be winning, even though it didn't count. It was just that good a goal. I mean, it was still a good knockdown from Whitehall, but the height that he actually headed it to Beeston to then take down and get that shot away, I think says a lot about Beeston's actual quality as a player. And yeah, fantastic goal. Yeah, like I say, we was on top of that moment and you could see it coming, but that real bit of quality, and I think we're seeing the best of Beeston again in that central role, in the middle of the park, especially with quality around him, like obviously Ewing, Rowley. I think all the players are making each other better, and Beeston, I think this season is becoming one of the main men, a real key player in this team, and you can see that.
So, Gareth, Marco's there has been praising Alfie Beeston's all round performance. Obviously, we were, the fans were, if you like, robbed of the chance to have a man of the match vote against Wealdstone because of what happened in the final. Well, either the final 10 minutes or the final 40 minutes, depending on your point of view. Marco's shaking his head already. If you could have picked a man of the match, who would you have gone for?
Who would I have gone for? I think I'd have gone for Rowley. Personally, Marco's shaking his head again.
It's what he does best. Marco, would you have gone for Beeston based off your effusive praise?
Benton by an absolute mile.
Oh, okay. Whereas, to be honest, I'm not even tempted for Ewing. I thought he was really industrious. He's been a great signing. So, opinions make the world go round.
Yeah, Ewing's his own worst enemy because he's set such a standard now.
Yeah.
Where unless he does something almost miraculous, it's just a standard game. But I thought,
look, if he has a full season like he's had in the first six or seven games, depending on your point of view, he's going to win Player of the Year, and sides in the EFL are going to be properly sniffing around him, aren't they?
Look, I think, but coming back to man of the match, that was, I think, one of Denton's most complete performances whilst being at the club.
You're just saying that because he had that shot from 40 yards out.
I was speaking to the guys around me. I thought Denton, he won every single tackle and just wanted to start play quickly. And you could say, I thought it was phenomenal on Saturday, not just for shot. His overall play, I thought it was brilliant. But look, it's very easy to say Ewing because, just like, again, he hasn't had a bad game. He's not had a game where you couldn't nominate him for man of the match. But no, big shout out for Denton for me.
So let's get to the inevitable. Gareth, when the Wealdstone striker went down injured, were you sat there thinking this game will be abandoned?
When he first went down injured, that obviously the Wealdstone bench wanted a penalty. We didn't know he was injured at the time when he went down. And then it's when he'd not moved and got back up, and then I think it was Rosie that ran on first. Our physio ran on, and then you think, oh, something wrong, and you're just thinking, yeah, he'll get a bit of a wipe with a sponge, all sorted, and it never. And then more people went on. You're thinking, oh no, not again. And I think I said to Joe next to me, I said, can you imagine if this is abandoned?
No, it's your fault. You jinxed it. You said that.
Well, I did say it. I said it to Joe, and I said, can you imagine if this one's abandoned? Because nothing had happened really, apart from everyone was crowding around him, and no one was knowing what was going on. And then a few whispers about his shoulder, his arm, and stuff. So yeah, as it went on, I'm thinking there's every chance it can be abandoned, and unfortunately, it was.
So then, Marco, we've had genuinely multiple. I've seen 2 comments saying, "Can't wait to see Marco's rant on the pod." So a bit like, one of them old toys, you twist the little thing, because I'm secretly old, and then send it round the room. This is me trying to coil your spring and for you to go, "Rah!" The floor's yours. What are your thoughts?
That's all the comments. I don't want to go like full Roy Keane, but
that's your job.
What a bunch of fucking babies.
What makes you say that?
Come on, man. It's pathetic. I think Sam Cox has seen an opportunity. Because to say the players weren't in the right mind frame, I think is an absolute lie. Anybody in the ground could see they were at the other end of the pitch. They were knocking the ball about. They were sort of keeping warm. The only players that were showing some sympathy to, is it Daniel, the guy who was down?
And Crummer, yeah.
Were Scunthorpe players. It was actually sort of Watson, obviously, who actually had the collision with, and Roberts, the Scunthorpe players, the Scunthorpe physios were the only people showing some actual sympathy. And if anything, they were the ones who should be mentally affected by what has gone on, not his teammates who are at the other end.
Hang on. Why have you put teammates in inverted commas? They are his teammates.
Well, yeah, the teammates who aren't mentally affected. I'm telling you that.
No.
And yeah, I think he's seen a chance and he's took it. And look, that maybe passes in ball league, but not in the real world. So yeah, for him to take him into the tunnel, it's just sly. It's sly, and I think he's had a go. He's had a shot, and look, you can't blame him because, like I said, I know.
Well, no, hang on. No, I think you can. Surely, if you're saying that, if you're saying that they've seen an opportunity. Everything you've said there says to me that you think he's done it on purpose, and
100%, without a shadow of doubt. But on the other hand, I think he knows his team. If they come out here, it is going to be 3 or 4, like we've been saying previously. So I think he's thought, "It's last chance saloon. What is the last thing I can do?" And that's barricading himself in the dressing room, and scared to come out. What was it? A police escort to the bus? If you're going to ask for that, then look, what you're doing is definitely wrong.
Hang on, the police escort to the bus. The bus parks up a yard from that exit.
Yeah, they had a riot van. Genuinely. There was a van parked outside that exit as well, in front of the bus, across it, and across the door, angled. And there must have been at least 5 police officers there. Some from the Met Police. Smiler was there as well. And also one of their players drove, and his car was parked outside the Iron Bar. And he also had a steward and a police officer walk into his car and make sure he got into his car.
And a therapist.
But yeah, so they had police there. There was no trouble. I didn't see any trouble or anything like that. There was barely any fans hanging around, just a few kids for autographs from hopefully our players that came out. But the police were there, and it was a bit weird. Obviously, they got a video.
So basically, if you wanted to rob a bank in Scunthorpe, about 5:45 was the time they do it, because I understand they didn't hang around much after the formal declaration of abandonment. They were on the coach and presumably driving down the A1 pretty quickly.
Possibly.
So, Gareth, obviously, it's since transpired. Obviously, Marco said that he thinks Sam Cox, the Wealdstone manager, he puts the blame at his door. I guess I have 2 questions really. One, do you agree with that? Do you think it's that's the manager's decision, or do you think it's the manager not being able to control his players? And the second question is, obviously, it's since transpired that the league and the referee said to the Wealdstone players, "No, you've got to continue with this game."
Yeah.
Are you still not a bit surprised that they went, "No, we're going home"?
Just going back to the Wealdstone players, I will say I've seen one video, not my own, of 4 Wealdstone players walking up towards Encrummer on the floor, got within about 5 yards of him, barely spent any time there, and then walked back. So I will say that, and I know Sam Cox went over there as well just to see what.
That genuine. So obviously, I'm behind the goal, and we had quite a good view of the incident. And Cox came over, but None of the players did.
Yeah, I have seen a video. I will put that out there. There is a video floating around of them within about 5 yards, just about 4 of them, of the injured player on the floor. But it's hard to say who's at fault. But I would say it would be the players at fault, not Sam Cox as such. Obviously, he's at fault as well because he's the manager. But I'd imagine the players said amongst themselves, you know what, we're losing this. We're not coming out. And Sam Cox is like, we've got to, lads. We've got to. And they're like, no. You know what I mean?
I guess it's the old question, isn't it? Let's think of it in your world. If a train driver crashes the train, is it his fault? Is it the train's fault? Or is it the person who, let them be a train driver's fault?
Don't you worry. The union will have us all on strike anyway. Whoever's fault it is will be on strike.
Now we're talking.
But yeah, that's it, isn't it? But I just, it's hard to say who would have had the initial statement of, do you know what, lads? I think we can get this game called off. You know what I mean? I'd imagine that would have come from a player, possibly.
But for me, if I was Sam Cox hearing that, if it was the players, or if I was a Wealdstone fan, for me, going into this season, obviously it's still early days, and to me, it's spineless. It's just so spineless. To go into a season with a core of players and a management team that don't want to go and complete a game, because let's be honest, that a broken collarbone has nothing to do with them.
Well, I don't know. Is dislocated shoulder? I think
dislocated shoulder.
Was that what it was confirmed as? I'm looking to Gareth here, our resident physio.
I don't know. I don't know exactly. I can't remember what it was confirmed as. I have read it, but it was something to do with his arm.
Yeah, I know.
I think it was shoulder because Butler actually said he had his pop back in on the same pitch and walked off.
And look, that's the thing, isn't it? Look, don't get me wrong. Particularly for the lad down.
Very painful.
It's and also it must be quite a disconcerting injury because you basically lose all control of that side of your upper body.
Yeah, no question. It's an awful injury.
Is that too low a threshold for a medical abandonment? Yeah. And the answer is surely yes.
Yes, 100%.
Although, can I jump in as well?
Go for it.
When I walked out after the game, I wanted to try and get some Wealdstone fans, but I'd spent too long in the Iron Bar chatting about it, just like in bewilderment. And by the time I got out, all the Wealdstone fans had disappeared. But I ended up walking around to the Iron Bar, and as I walked round to where the groundsman going, where the tractor is, there was a paramedic coming out. And I just said to her, what was the issue? Was it his shoulder? And she's like, yes. And I can't, but I said something else. And she said to me that the reason the game couldn't go on, obviously we know not now, was that it was there were no medical staff on the pitch. They were all inside. So there was no one medically trained around the pitch in case of an injury. So that's why it couldn't carry on. Obviously, since then, it's transpired that they didn't want to come out. But if that had been the case, that would have been a more understandable reasoning for the game not going ahead because they didn't have the medics at the side of the pitch.
Yeah, I seem to remember one game at Scunning away at Doncaster where the start was delayed by 45 minutes because they didn't have the required number of medical staff. But I think back to the Euro 2020 game with Denmark. I mean, Jesus Christ, Christian Eriksen literally died on that pitch. And UEFA went, I've got some good news for you, lads. You get to finish this game of football. So I guess the question I would have, Marco, is obviously the Easter game on Tuesday had been abandoned. And I genuinely, usually in social media, you can find anything, but I have not yet seen one comment, even on like the Wednesday and the Thursday, from any Scunthorpe fan or any Eastleigh fan that didn't think in the end abandonment was the right decision. If Eastleigh hadn't happened, do you think Wealdstone try it on?
Yeah. I still think that comes into play. I don't think they're looking at the game previously and thinking maybe we can sort of push the same outcome. I don't think that's the thing. I think they're both different circumstances. Like you said, I don't think there's any Iron fans or Eastleigh fans who have a problem with Tuesday getting replayed.
Well, so that's two different things, isn't it? There's I've genuinely not seen any issue with that game being abandoned.
No.
The question off the back of that, obviously with it being 1-1, is do we play it or do you go, oh fuck it, we can't be asked to go all the way back down there, 1-1 will do?
Yeah, I mean, if
would you have kicked off if the National League had turned round on both games and gone result stands?
100. No, not all. Not all. And as we spoke last week on the podcast, obviously Butler said as well, I think they would have shook hands on that Tuesday and said a point's a point. Obviously, factoring into your distance, the result of the time, the minute of the game, the circumstances. I think they are two completely different scenarios. Again, I think possibly Scunthorpe might be the happier of the two, but we do have to play them again because I thought we should have got the win down there. But yeah, look, they're completely different. I do think, I know it's took a little bit longer than we all thought and longer than it should have done, but I do think they've came to a right decision. I don't know if we'll come on to it a little bit later regarding the goal difference, which seems to be more of annoyance than anything. I know.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, isn't it?
Very strange because I mean, I don't know if this is me being. I mean, I'm only 31, but me being old. To me, a forfeit was 3-0 to Verdun.
It was, yeah. And Marco, you're the youngest one here.
I know.
You've got the least hair, but you're the youngest one here.
Age-wise, he could be my son. Could be now.
Could be.
Did you spend much time in? Does Sardinia have an extensive network of freight trains?
Maybe has one train, man. But yeah, no, look, like I said, back in my day, it was 3-0
before the war.
Yeah, it was 3-0 for a win. So
yeah, it was.
So a 0-0 win doesn't quite sit right with me. We'll take it because going off our form, I think Wealdstone are a real mugs here because going off us the last 3 or 4 games, look at us conceding sloppy goals late on in games, and you never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, if they'd have carried on and gone direct and we dropped a bit deeper, like you couldn't have ruled anything out.
They were a big side, one of the biggest sides I've seen, and I've listened to a couple of podcasts previously, weeks leading up to the game, we were saying that they signed a lot of tall players, and I think that really showed. They were one of the most physical sides I'd actually seen at the Attis Arena. So yeah, look, you never know. Balls pumped into the box, you're backing Boyce and Evans. But in previous weeks, those balls across the 6-yard box have been our downfall. So, like you say, you never know. But yeah, I think I'm happy to take the win, even with it being a 0-0 win. Disappointed, like we say, for Beeston and Whitehall, who's obviously a special mention for that goal because that came shortly after just hitting the bar. And if you see the videos that Scunthorpe put on of the alternative angle, Whitehall's movement after actually missing that chance, rather than just sort of dwelling on it and ruin the missed chance, his movement to peel off to the back post to then get the chance again to actually get his header on goal was fantastic. So yeah, a little bit disappointed for them too, but yeah, I think overall the right thing's been done. In a perfect world, I think we get our +1 goal difference as a minimum.
Or +3.
Yeah.
It would move. So the tables have now been updated. It's got us up, at least on the BBC anyway. It's got us up to 6th. Had the results stood, never mind the 3-0 forfeit, that would have had us in 5th and not 6th.
Yeah, and look, it's early days. It might affect us at the end of the season when we're going for top spot, but time will tell. But I would be very interested if a scenario unfolded where Wealdstone stayed up by +1 goal difference if the team that went down below them appealed, because I think they'd have genuine claim.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Wealdstone only stayed up on goal difference on the final day of last season. So you never know. I mean, they have started the season okay. I mean, they're 10th, 1-4 loss for. So that's even the farce of our game notwithstanding. That's not really the form you'd expect of a big relegation candidate. Just on the point you mentioned there about them being very tall as well. I have to say I did quite rate their back four in possession though. I thought they were quite brave for a back four, and they did move the ball quite well. That giant they had at centre half, Chinedu, one is on loan from Leyton Orient, two is only 18. Why he didn't take up basketball, I'm not really sure. But yeah, no, it was obviously a very, very interesting game before it got called off. Gareth, just going to come to you about obviously the National League's statements, where they've said, in respect to the abandonment, the game is to be replayed, and then that's the Easter game, and then in respect of the abandonment of Scunthorpe versus Wealdstone, it's been decided that the game is not to be replayed. So that's the National League statements. I'm sure, like most Iron fans, you probably also read the Wealdstone statement, where they were talking about how their board of directors made representations that they thought Scunthorpe should get the 3 points. Do you believe them? And two, if you do, then what do you think what message do you think they're trying to send by that? Is it a little bit of comms handling, a little bit of PR, a little bit of messaging?
I don't believe them, but yeah, if that's what did happen, it's got to be PR, hasn't it? But going back to the statement, it was 8.38 in the National League rules, wasn't it?
Yep.
So can I read that out?
No, you can't. Yes, of course you can.
Stuff like that. It's just they've got an A, B, and a C in it, and it says in the event of a match being abandoned due to the conduct of one club or its members or supporters, the board has the power to order that either A, the original match stands as a completed match, B, the match is replayed in the terms upon which the match is replayed, or C, the match is not replayed, and to award either one or 3 points to the club not at fault. The board cannot levy a financial penalty due to the conduct of a club. Now, going back to the losing the goal difference, surely they should have just done A, the original match stands as a completed match, and just left it as a 2-1.
Yeah. Why do you think they didn't?
Why? Because they don't want us to go up. No.
I think it's a time thing.
A time thing?
I think we're too long left in the game. Whereas it's a little bit different to Eastleigh.
Yeah,
I get the Eastleigh one, but what was it? They announced 11 minutes, didn't they?
They announced 11 minutes, which I actually thought that was a little bit skinny, because I think it went down with 9 left of normal time.
Yeah.
So when that board came up and it was only 11, I was expecting sort of probably 14 or 15.
Yeah.
Had we had to go back out, well, we'll never know. We'll never know.
Yeah, but I just feel that they've obviously got the power to do it, and they could have just thought, you know what, we can't do anything else with Wealdstone. We can't give them a financial penalty. We will just keep it as A, and it's a 2-1 win. The match stands. End of. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just feel that, like everyone else, every other Scunthorpe fan feels we've been hard done to in some respects, even though we've got the 3 points.
Yeah, it's like Marco said, isn't it? You just hope that nothing comes down to it that close by the end of the season. I mean, it would literally have to be, a goal in terms of goal difference or goals scored. So we'll see, I guess. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't come down to that. Right, I think we could sit here all night really and discuss and chew the fat on that. Let's look forward to Saturday to Forest Green. Gareth, how do you think that one's going to go?
It's going to be a tough game, isn't it? Hopefully, at the end of it, Robbie Cabbage isn't in the crowd celebrating and enjoying the moment. But no, I think it's going to be a tough game. They've conceded 4 goals, I think it is, and scored 15. But I think, when I say tough game, I think it'll be good for us as well, as fans, to see where we are with the squad we've got. Because right now, no disrespect to the rest of the teams, but we're not playing those teams right at the top as such. So no, it'd be good to see how they perform against the top of the league, really.
Yeah.
But you look at some of the results, and the Forest Green have only won by 1 goal in some of the games. Other games they've won 4-0. But yeah, so I think it will be a close game, and you've got to feel that we've got a chance as well.
Obviously, there you mentioned the fact that you feel like it'd be quite a good test. So there's 3 sides in the National League remaining unbeaten, which is ourselves, Forest Green, and York. Unexpectedly rarefied company, perhaps. But I am looking at the table, and so far in our 6 games, if you don't count Eastleigh, but even if you do count Eastleigh, 7 games, the only side in the top 10 that we have played, ironically, is Wealdstone.
Yeah. So I just feel that playing Forest Green, who are top, will be a good test for us. But I think we've got the players that can perform for definite.
Marco, you strike me as a fan of the old vegan sausage rolls.
There's not many clubs that I wouldn't fit in at less, especially now I've hired Robbie Cabbage. It's not.
Look, you just look at his wavy blonde hair and you get jealous, man. You get jealous.
What we call it, Robbie Cabbage.
Obviously, Gareth there was quite rightly sort of pointing out Forest Green's very strong start to the season. Traditionally, sort of over the last decade and longer, very well financially backed by their owner, the sort of big environmental entrepreneur Dale Vins. They've got quite a strong squad at this level. They seem to have, the games of theirs I've seen so far this season, I have actually been quite impressed. I think they've played very good football. They've earned those 6 wins and 2 draws they've had so far this season. Are you feeling brave enough to give us a score prediction?
I fancy Forest Green to actually win the league. I think
based on how they've started, you'd have to have them as early favourites, wouldn't you?
I think before the season kicks off, I actually had them top of my prediction league as well. I don't think Robbie Savage is leaving his project at Macclesfield if he doesn't think he can take a team through this league. So it was always going to take something pretty special. And like you said, the squad looks very well balanced. Look, if we go up there, down there even, and
if we go up there, we're going the wrong way.
Down there, yeah.
Are we going to? Who was it who did that? Was it the what team was it that accidentally ended up in? Was it Spennymoor? What team supporters bus accidentally ended up in Oxford rather than Telford?
No idea.
I think it was Spennymoor.
Yeah, that's going to be Marco looking for Forest Green. He's going to end up in like Sherwood. He's going to end up in Sherwood Forest or something.
But no, yeah, if we can come away there with a point, I think we'll have done extremely well. But I've had that attitude for a lot of the start of the season, and we've excelled and gone beyond. And look, I fancy ourselves against anyone in this league with our attack. It's just, look, there's obviously the suspensions, in and Aaron at right back, although I think Scales is very dependable. It's going to be a cracking game. It's going to be a really good game. And like I said, if we can, prediction-wise, I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay. Gareth, 2 questions.
Yeah,
firstly, what's your score prediction? And secondly, just because Marco's there mentioned the right back issue, would you play 4 at the back or would you play 5?
For the score, I'm also thinking 1-1. I don't think we keep a clean sheet again. But no, I would stick with 4 personally.
Yeah, definitely.
I just feel that it's why change it when we're performing like we are. I don't feel there's a need to change it. If we lose, we're going to lose at some point. We're going to go through the season unbeaten. So just keep playing the football the way we're playing it and formation. And I feel that if we lose, we lose. If we get something from the game, happy days. So I would change.
What about you, Max? What were you saying?
So I do think this is where the first defeat comes. I think it might just be a step too far for us with all of the stuff that's been going on recently with the abandoned games, the suspensions, the injury issues, the right back question. As you say, obviously Forest Green have had a few games this season where they've looked at a real handful. How about this? If we get a point, I'll eat a vegan sausage roll. I don't fancy us, to be honest. I would go 3-0 Forest Green.
3-0? I don't think it'll be that bad. If we do lose, I don't think it'll be a 3-0. No.
I mean, look, I'd be thrilled with a point. I think if you can go down there to a side who started the season that well and get any kind of positive result, that's it sends a strong message internally and externally that you can have a good season and that you can be a good side at the top end of the table. But we shall see. That's football, baby.
You're thinking this is where we maybe think we've met our level. This is where we're at.
I mean, it's an open question because, like Gareth said, we haven't we haven't yet played a side that I've looked at and gone, I think you'll be in the playoffs this season.
True.
And, you know, obviously your prediction for Forest Green is more than that. You know, at this moment in time, having them as win the league, down to win the league, I think is fair comp. So, you know, we'll know more by 5 o'clock, won't we? You know, if we go there and get something, then all of a sudden that line of, well, we haven't played a good side yet, isn't true anymore. You can go into the games against Southend, against York, against Carlisle, and that tougher run of fixtures we've got over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and think, do you know, we can pick up a few points here, but we don't know yet, do we? That's the interesting question. So I'm looking forward to finding it. Right then, Gareth, that brings us on nicely to our hero idiot moment of the week. I feel like, as Scunthorpe fans, we've had a lot to discuss over this podcast and over the last week and a half, really. Who's your hero of the week?
For me, it's Andy Butler and the way he conducted himself on Saturday, with the players, with the team, with the management, with the referee even. I just thought he was really level-headed. He wanted his team to stay out on the pitch. They kept coming to the byline. He kept pushing them back out on the pitch. You know, get out there, kick a ball, warm up, whatever, do something. You know, show that we want this game to go on. So for me, just the way he reacted, and also as well when James Moody came out and said it was abandoned, he took the mic off him and just said, "Under no way is this the referee's fault," which is basically laying the blame at Wealdstone's door. I just thought it was really, really nice of him to just, you know, do what he did and just be level-headed with it all. So yeah, he's my hero.
Marco, follow that.
Yeah, no, I think it's tough, and I think it's a really good answer. I think not only that, the way that obviously with Butler's comments at the fans forum and on Homicide, I think the way he's conducted himself these last couple of weeks has really shone him in a really good light. And I think, like Gareth said, I think he's handled himself and some tricky issues at the club and obviously on-field stuff. I think he's handled it fantastic. So what that is a really good answer. Mine's a lesser some man, but I feel like he's been vital these last 2 weeks, and he's the gentleman who's got our first clean sheet with an asterisk maybe next to it. Is Rory Watson. I thought, look, he would have been expected to play Eastleigh with obviously Campbell getting injured in the warm-up. So to come in already having an injury, coming in straight away and doing as well as he has done, I think that says a lot about him as a goalkeeper and a person. And I think he's been fantastic. So yeah, for me, it's Roy Watson. I'm not expected to beat Gareth, but yeah, I've been really impressed with him coming in and doing his role. And like I said, he's took a lot of that pressure off. Our first couple of podcasts this season were very goalkeeper based, and I don't think we have that. The fact that we haven't even mentioned that this podcast speaks volumes for me. So yeah, it's Roy Watson.
Marco, it's just doing his job though.
It's Roy Keane. But I mean, before we come on to that, I had a sort of a running joke with a couple of friends from university that the perfect game ends 0-0. You know, a game where there is no mistakes, where literally, you know, impossible, obviously, but the perfect game ends 0-0. And now, hand on heart, we can finally say that Scunthorpe are the first side, surely ever, to win a game 0-0. Yeah, anybody who you see it occasionally, they, you know, when they go viral and stuff, they like the Guardian has like a football knowledge section, and it's usually people writing in saying, "I've seen this mad thing. Has it ever happened before?" This is going to be one of them questions in like 20 years' time. You know, when did a side win a game 0-0 and it cost them promotion, or, you know, something ridiculous like that? When did a side get relegated due to a 0-0 defeat? Before I give Gareth the point, obviously, I do want to give a very, very honourable mention as to what would have been my nomination for Hero of the Week, which is Scunthorpe-based man Tyler Adams, who. So we record this podcast on the Thursday night. It's likely to be released by Friday, so by the time you're listening to this or watching this, it may well be today. Tyler is quite literally running a marathon around the Attis Arena. I mean, the farce that was the Wealdstone abandonment in many ways felt like a very different sort of marathon. But Tyler's doing it for real. This is in preparation for his plan to run the length of the UK from Land's End to John O'Groats, which is making me tired just thinking about it, in January. So I can think of no better preparation for that than running a marathon around Attis Arena. He says in an interview with the Scunthorpe Telegraph that he's expecting that to be about 95 laps. This is raising money for a Gainsborough-based mental health charity called Labo's Legacy, and he talks about how he's running January. He's hoping to do it in 28 days, which is roughly 50 kilometres a day, every day. Marco, you're pulling quite a face there. You sure you don't fancy doing that?
Yeah, if you ever need any company on one of the legs, be sure to
ring somebody else.
Yeah, I'm happy to donate, and I will be doing. But yeah, do not count me in. But every respect for doing that. That is some going,
especially in January.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Look, Scunthorpe fans are very, I'm going to say understanding men, but a very giving set of fans. So if anybody can give what they can to Tyler, because that is some feat and a great cause of mental health. Obviously, we had that this week was mental health World Suicide Day. It's something big in football and something we can obviously help each other. It's okay to talk, and it's a really good positive thing that he's doing. So yeah, best of luck, Tyler. And
yeah, absolutely. I believe the marathon around the Attis Arena is due to start at 9:30 in the morning on Friday, September the 12th. You can follow his journey on TikTok and also Instagram. I mean, it's a hell of an effort, really, and I'm just glad that I'm not the one doing it, quite frankly. So massive congratulations and good luck to Tyler on that. It's a great effort. But yeah, Gareth gets the point for Andy Butler, quite rightly so. Marco, chance for you to get a point back here. And again, I wonder if this might perhaps have a bit of a Wealdstone flavour to it. I don't know. Who was your idiot of the week?
Sam Cox.
What makes you say that?
I don't know who's done on the pitch, for starters. I just don't get it.
Well, unlike his players, surely he's coming over to see whether or not he's all right.
I didn't get that from him. He's just one of those people I don't think I'm ever going to get. And look, to leave them players in there, and then he's just not for me. Sam Cox, throughout the game, the end change, the way they set up, I think came to frustrate and piss us off. And look, it worked. And we've seen that last year. Teams are going to come to us and try to frustrate us. That's the job in a away team. But yeah, not for me. Sam Cox and the Wealdstone bunch. I'm going to call them babies, but I think that's too nice.
Gareth. Marco has gone for Sam Cox and the Wealdstone bunch.
This is for idiot, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like trying to shoehorn the Wealdstone.
The Wealdstone theme and Sam Cox.
I like how, on Countdown, when people have like the same workings out and you have to show your sheet to the camera so that, they don't think you've made it up. Okay, look, it's the objectively correct answer. So we'll give that as a tie.
Are you saying I've won 0-0?
Yeah. Yes. Or you've won 1-1, if you prefer, or you've won 0.5, 0.5.
I want the clean sheet.
You want the clean sheet? Okay. So 2 games in, it's 1-0, which brings us down to a decider-ish, but it could finish 1-1 after 3, because of course it could. Gareth, what was your moment of the week?
Just, it goes on from the game again, the abandonment, but just the amount of time it took for the league to come out and say something.
Well,
regarding
it was on Tuesday. It was a week after the Eastleigh game.
a week after the Easter game, yeah, and then the Wealdstone game as well. But you'd have thought that they got the referee's report. I know it's a weekend and stuff like that and what have you, but I just feel that the amount of time it took.
I said it on Twitter at the time, and I stand by it. They should have had something out that night.
Yeah.
This isn't the Jack Carson Sunday League. You're not running a village fete. You're running a professional football league here. It just baffles me.
Yeah. So that was the moment for me. It all stemmed from the Wealdstone abandonment game, and just the amount of time it took the league to come out and say something. So
very good, very strong answer, Marco. Have you got that written down on a piece of paper in blue felt tip pen? Because if you have, now's your time.
I'm coming away from football. I watched the F1 on Sunday.
Oh, when you said going away from football, I'm thinking, you could tell we don't script this. I'm thinking, oh God, where's he going with this? Where's he going with this? Where's he going with this?
It was the Imola. It was the Italian Grand Prix, and obviously Hamilton, to those who don't know, races for Ferrari now, a predominantly Italian team, Italian-speaking engineers and mechanics. And Hamilton's in the race, on the comms come up on the screen, and Hamilton asks, are we still sticking with plan B? And the Italian Ferrari engineer says, C, meaning yes, not the letter C. So Hamilton then replies, we're going plan C. He goes, no, sticking with B. And he goes, so B. And he goes, C. And
okay.
The only bit of Italian that Hamilton knows is probably C.
Okay.
And it's been his own downfall.
As a poetic Faulty Towers moment as that is, there will be hell will freeze over before I give anybody a point relating to an anecdote that involves televised traffic. So Gareth, I've got some excellent news for you.
You've just lost all our 10 or 11 F1 followers.
As Homer Simpson once said, the two sweetest words in the English language: default. Gareth, you could have said your moment of the week was anything. You could have said that your moment of the week was Phil Brown, everybody's favourite orange man, getting the Peterborough sports job.
Yeah,
that wasn't amazing. I didn't stutter. Ex-Premier League manager Phil Brown has got the Peterborough sports job. Or you could have said that Joe Murphy, who played for Tranmere and is now the oldest goalkeeper to have played in the EFL at any point in the last 10 years at the age of 44. Great effort, Joe. Love it. Becky's gutted if she wasn't there to see it. You could have said that. You could have said absolutely anything.
I cover all fans on this podcast.
Good. I'm sure there are actual fans in an F1 car. I don't care. Gareth, congratulations. You've won 2-1. You've won 2-0, rather, I should say. Well done.
Thank you.
On that bombshell, don't really know how to end that other than me and Marco clearly having contrary opinions about the sporting integrity that is Sky Electric for rich people. It's been a pleasure, Iron fans. I'm sure you're wishing that Andy Barraclough was here tonight, and after my vicious attacks on Formula One, I think Marco is too.
I don't think Barry's the biggest fan. I think it's probably just me here.
Well, it's been a hell of a week for Iron fans. 2 games abandoned due to medical emergencies. You don't see one. I haven't seen one in 25 years watching the Iron, and we've had 2 in 4 days.
To be fair, coming on to that, Torpy on Humberside afterwards, I said, in my experience in his career, he didn't have one. And that's the fact that Torpy was probably the one dishing out the beatings is is quite surprising. So I found that quite ironic, but yeah, it's unheard of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many things we could say. Let's hope we don't see another one. I don't know if any side has ever had 3 games abandoned in a row. Let's hope we don't find out away in Nailsworth down in Gloucestershire on Saturday. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, Iron fans. It's been a pleasure. As always, this has been the Iron Hour podcast. Up the Iron.